Yes, the Silver Seraph truly is an exquisite motor car, but I've wanted to drive one car more than this ever since I was that high, when I first started getting driving ambitions. And that car is based at the National Motor Museum. It really is the most exquisite looking car you'll ever see. It's the 1909 Rolls Royce Silver Ghost, and here it is in all its glory. How's that for a seamless gear change with no synchromesh, no crunching of gears there at all? This car is a delight to pilot. It's so majestic on the road with its proud Spirit of Ecstasy mascot, its big wings. It's got such presence on the road. No one shows you any animosity. They just wave at you and you just feel like the king of the world. The Spirit of Ecstasy has an interesting story attached to it, in that in the early days, Rolls-Royce had no official mascot, but by 1910 they were getting a bit fed up with their owners putting all sorts of mascots on, so they commissioned the sculptor Charles Sykes to come up with something more appropriate for a Rolls-Royce. And he was a great friend of Lord Montagu's father's, so he came to him and they decided on something like the Spirit of Ecstasy, and the model that they used was Lord Montagu's father's secretary, a lady called Miss Eleanor Thornton. Unfortunately, 5 years later, she died while sailing to America on a boat called the SS Persia that was torpedoed. But she's forever remembered in the mascot that sits proudly on the front of every Rolls-Royce. The story of this car is quite wonderful as well. It was supplied new in 1909. It's the 939th Rolls-Royce built. It went through various owners until by the 1950s it was being used, believe it or not, as a breakdown truck. That's where we found it in Scotland. We had it brought back to Beaulieu and the truck bodywork was stripped off and it was displayed in a restored chassis form in the hall of Palace House for a number of years before it had its replica Roi des Belges body put on by Leslie Willis. And ever since then, it's been the pride of the fleet. It's been all over the world with Lord Montagu. It's one of his favourite cars, and he's in good company, because it's one of mine too.
Allegedly, the reason the car was originally named the Silver Ghost was because of the quietness of its engine, seen here newly rebuilt by the workshops at Beaulieu. It has 6 cylinders, 2 plugs per cylinder, and is just over 7 litres in capacity, propelling the more reckless of drivers to speeds of around 65 miles an hour. The car, however, feels much nicer at speeds of 40 to 50.
What a fabulous machine. Absolutely beautiful. It's every bit as good as I'd always dreamt it would be. So that's 1909. This is 90 years younger. Let's see what 90 years of evolution has done to the breed. Looking at this weather, I think I'm going to try somewhere else. I've road tested the Silver Ghost in the New Forest, but with this car I wanted to go a bit further afield, somewhere really exotic. I thought about Monte Carlo, but I just hadn't got the time. So I took a half-hour boat ride and arrived on the Isle of Wight. The only problem is the roads are appalling. But what about some facts and figures? The car weighs 2.3 tonnes and it can do 0 to 60 in under 7 seconds. But even more impressive than that, it can stop from 62 miles an hour to 0 in an absolutely breathtaking 3 seconds flat. The car is powered by a 5.3 litre V12 engine, delivering 322 brake horsepower. But you know what? Calling them horsepower just demeans the car. The way the power is delivered so smoothly, so silently and so effortlessly, I'm not so sure they're horses at all. I think that they are little seraphs. There's a host of heavenly angels, little seraphs, just pushing you along effortlessly. This car is actually the hardest car I've ever had to road test. Driving the car just makes you feel a very, very special person. It pampers you, it soothes you, it caresses your ego like no other car I've ever driven. I've been puzzling all day how I can summarise the character of this latest Rolls Royce, only the 9th new model in their entire 96-year history. I can't. There is just no single word in this language, or I'm sure any other, that can really quantify just how perfect this car is. It seems the engineers and the designers have stopped at nothing to create the ultimate luxury experience on wheels. It's like being in your favourite living room. Everything is just perfect, right down to the tick-tock of the indicators. None of your annoying tick-tick-tick-tick like you get in most cars. This sounds like a grandfather clock. One of my favourite locations on the Isle of Wight is here, Golden Hill Fort. It's a Napoleon hill fort. And what I love so much about it is it's so imposing, just like the car. Now, I don't normally show you oily bits on cars, but this is no ordinary car and there are no ordinary oily bits. In fact, this is no mere engine bay. It's an installation from an art gallery. It's a piece of sculpture. And look, there's the Rolls Royce Motor Cars badge. There's heritage, same as on the Silver Ghost. Of course, it's not just the engine bay that's a piece of sculpture. The whole car is richly deserving of such a title. The interior is beautifully appointed. The exterior, the lines are flowing, elegant and beautifully complemented by the chrome. In my experience and opinion, there is no car available today that offers a finer air of excellence, a deeper sense of luxury and a greater sense of superb craftsmanship than the Rolls Royce Silver Seraph, and it therefore richly deserves the title originally bestowed on its ancestor, the finest motor car in the world.